The envelope slid across the polished mahogany dining table like a guillotine blade, stopping dead in front of me. My name, Claire Dawson, was typed in stark, bold letters on the crisp white paper, each character screaming finality. My father, Robert, sat at the head of the table, his face as unyielding as the granite cliffs of Yosemite. My mother, Susan, sipped her wine, her eyes glinting with a calculated softness that didn't reach her smile. The air in our suburban Chicago home felt thick, suffocating, like the humid summers that clung to your skin. $1,200 a month, Dad announced, his voice flat, as if he were reading off a car repair bill. That covers base rent for your room. $800, plus $200 for utilities and $200 for household contributions. Due on the first of every month. He leaned back in his chair, folding his arms, waiting for my reaction. I stared at the envelope, my fingers trembling as I picked it up. Inside was an itemized invoice, printed with the precision of a corporate ledger. My grilled chicken sat untouched on my plate, growing cold as the numbers swam before my eyes. Rent for my childhood bedroom, the same one with the faded glow in the dark stars on the ceiling from when I was 10. Utilities I barely used. A household contribution, for a family that felt less like home every day. Across the living room, sprawled on the leather sectional, my younger brother, Ethan, scrolled through his phone, a half-empty bag of Doritos balanced on his chest. He didn't even glance up, as if this moment wasn't about to shatter my world. But Ethan doesn't pay anything, I said, my voice cracking despite my effort to keep it steady. Mom's smile tightened, her voice dripping with honeyed venom. Ethan's situation is different, Claire. He's still figuring out his path. You've got 2 steady jobs. It's time you learned financial responsibility. Her words cut deeper than the invoice itself. 2 jobs. Bank teller by day, waitress at a downtown diner 4 nights a week. That left me with aching shoulders and permanent dark circles under my eyes. Responsibility? I was drowning in it. When does this start? I asked, hating how small my voice sounded. First of the month, Dad replied, his tone leaving no room for negotiation. That's next week. I trust you can handle it. It wasn't a question, it was a command. Delivered with the same authority he used when ordering Ethan to mow the lawn, a task my brother always forgot. I nodded, my mind already racing, calculating how many extra shifts I'd need to pick up at the diner. The table fell silent, except for the faint buzz of Ethan's phone and the clink of Mom's wineglass. I folded the invoice with care, as if it were a bomb I didn't want to detonate, and excused myself. Upstairs, in the sanctuary of my room, I opened my laptop to check my bank account. That's when I saw it, a notification from my credit card company. The internet bill I'd been paying for months was registered under Ethan's name. Curious, I dug deeper. Steam purchases, Xbox Live subscriptions, a monthly charge for some anime streaming service I'd never heard of, all linked to my card. My phone buzzed. A text from Mom. Don't forget to clean your dishes from dinner. We all pitch in to keep this house running. I stared at the message. Then out my window, where Ethan's beat-up Honda peeled out of the driveway. Probably headed to his buddy's place for their weekly gaming marathon. He'd be back late, leaving his dishes in the sink for someone else, me, to deal with. The next morning, I dragged myself to the bank, my eyes burning from lack of sleep. My coworker, Marcus, was already at his desk, sorting through a stack of loan applications. You look like you've seen a ghost, he said, sliding a steaming cup of coffee across to me. Worse, I muttered, forcing a hollow laugh. An invoice. I told him about the $1,200 rent, the late fees, and how Ethan got a free pass while racking up charges on my credit card. Marcus's face darkened. That's not normal, Claire. You know that, right? I shrugged, but his words lit a spark somewhere deep inside me. A flicker of rebellion, maybe, or just the first crack in the facade I'd built to survive this family. By noon, I'd made a decision. I created a new email account, opened a high-yield savings account at a different bank, and snapped a photo of the invoice, saving it to a secure folder labeled Evidence. Every penny, every charge, Every manipulation would be documented from now on. That evening, I walked downstairs and handed Dad an envelope stuffed with $1,200 in cash, scraped together from my last paycheck and tips. "Good girl," he said, not looking up from his newspaper. "You're learning." Ethan shuffled past, a bowl of cereal sloshing in his hands. "Yo, Claire, can you spot me $20 for gas?" he asked. Barely glancing at me, I looked at him, really looked at him, for the first time in months. My little brother, the golden child, always broke but never without the latest game or a full tank of gas. "Sorry," I said, my voice steady, surprising even myself. "I'm on a tight budget these days." Mom's head snapped up from her phone. "Claire, don't be selfish. Family helps family." Her words were a slap. But they didn't sting like they used to. Instead, something cold and resolute settled in my chest. "You're right, Mom," I said, meeting her gaze. Family helps family. That night, I lay in bed, the numbers dancing in my head. 2 years. I could do this for 2 years. Every extra shift, every tip, every cent would go into that secret savings account. My phone lit up with another notification. A $59.99 charge from Steam for some new game Ethan couldn't wait to play. I smiled in the darkness. A plan forming like storm clouds on the horizon. They wanted to teach me about adult responsibilities? Fine. I'd learn so well they'd never see me coming. The keys to my new house jingled in my hand like a victory anthem as I stepped across the threshold of my own place. A modest 2-bedroom in a quiet Chicago suburb. Bought with the blood, sweat, and tips of 2 grueling years. No more invoices sliding across dinner tables. No more guilt trips. No more Ethan's gaming charges bleeding my accounts dry. The hardwood floors gleamed under the afternoon sun and the empty rooms echoed with possibility. This was mine. All mine. I'd done it. Claire Dawson, the exhausted bank teller and diner waitress, had clawed her way out of her family's chokehold. The first thing I did was cancel the internet account tied to Ethan's name. The one I'd been paying for while he binged anime and racked up Steam purchases. Then I locked my credit card, cutting off his endless stream of borrowed charges. My phone buzzed with a notification. Account closure successful. I smiled, savoring the silence of a life no longer tethered to their demands. But that was just the beginning. Months of secret meetings with Lauren, a sharp-eyed real estate agent and old family friend, had led to a move so audacious I could barely believe it myself. Through my LLC, Vanquish Properties, I'd bought the mortgage on my parents' house, the same house they'd charged me $1,200 a month to live in, while failing to pay their own bills. Now, I was their creditor, and the irony tasted sweeter than any dessert I'd ever served at the diner. The confrontation came on a crisp Sunday morning. Just as I'd expected, my phone had been lighting up with texts from Mom for days. "Where are you? Ethan needs a ride. The internet's down." Each one more desperate than the last. I ignored them, letting the messages pile up like unpaid bills. When the pounding on my front door started at 8 a.m., I was ready. Through the peephole, I saw them. Dad, red-faced and fuming, Mom, wringing her hands, and Ethan, clutching a duffel bag like a kid who'd just been kicked out of summer camp. "Claire, open this door right now." Dad's voice boomed, shaking the quiet of my new home. I took a slow sip of coffee, letting them stew, then unlatched the security chain and faced them. "Can I help you?" I asked, my tone as cool as the autumn air. "This has gone far enough." Dad growled, his eyes narrowing. "We know about Vanquish Properties." I raised an eyebrow, leaning against the doorframe. "Congratulations." Mom pushed forward, her voice trembling with rehearsed emotion. "Sweetie, we need to talk about this like family. Ethan needs a place to stay. Just temporarily, until things settle down." I glanced at Ethan's duffel bag, then back at them. "Oh, you need housing? I've got a pull-out couch in the garage. $1,200 a month. Late fees apply." The words rolled off my tongue, sharp and deliberate, echoing the same ultimatum they'd given me 2 years ago. Dad's face drained of color, his own lesson thrown back at him like a boomerang. "You can't be serious," Ethan sputtered, his voice cracking. Why not? I shot back. It's how the real world works. Remember? Mom's tears started. Her go-to manipulation tactic. We're your family, Claire. Funny, I said, pulling out my phone. I have some texts here about family. Let me read them. I scrolled through, my voice steady. Ethan needs support right now. Family helps family. Don't be selfish. Claire. Sound familiar? Dad's jaw tightened. That was different. Different because I actually paid my bills. I said, stepping forward. I reached into my bag and dropped a manila envelope at their feet. Its contents spilling out, receipts, bank statements, every charge Ethan had made on my card, every late fee they'd tacked on to teach me responsibility. Want to go through them together? Ethan picked up the envelope, his hands shaking as he sifted through the evidence. What is all this? Everything, I said. Every payment, every late fee, every time you used my rent money to keep your house while I worked myself to death. Dad lunged forward, but the security chain held firm. You had no right. I had every right. I snapped, my voice finally breaking. You charged me more than market rate to sleep in my childhood bedroom while Ethan lived free. You added late fees to teach me lessons while spending my money on yourselves. You pushed me to work 2 jobs while telling Ethan to find his path. Mom grabbed the envelope from Ethan, clutching it like it might disappear. We were trying to help you grow up. No, I said, my voice quiet but deadly. You were using me as your personal ATM. I pulled out the final document, the property deed showing Vanquish Properties as the owner of their mortgage. And now, you get to learn what that feels like. Vanquish Properties expects payment on the 1st of each month. Market rate, of course. Dad collapsed into one of my porch chairs. The reality hitting him like a freight train. You own our house. Technically, Vanquish Properties does. I corrected. And Ethan, the garage couch is still available. $1,200 a month. No exceptions. No excuses. No family discounts. Just like you taught me. Mom's voice was barely a whisper. Please, Claire, we'll lose everything. Like I almost did, I said, my eyes locked on hers. Working doubles until I couldn't see straight. Skipping meals to make rent. Watching my savings disappear into Ethan's gaming accounts. Dad stood, his hands trembling as he gathered the scattered papers. This isn't over. You're right, I said, stepping back inside. This is just the beginning of your adult responsibilities. They left, defeated, Mom's sobs fading as their car pulled away. I watched through the window, saving the security camera footage for my records. Lauren's text came through as I closed the door. They're at my office. Demanding info on Vanquish Properties. Your dad's connecting the dots. Good, I replied. Let them. 2 months later, I stood in my new living room, arranging furniture while takeout containers from Marcus's housewarming gift littered the coffee table. My parents had moved into a cramped apartment across town. And Ethan, to my surprise, had landed a job at a local electronics store. They were learning, slowly, what it meant to survive without their human ATM. My phone buzzed with a text from my old friend. Natalie, your mom's telling everyone you abandoned them. Says you left them in financial ruin. I smirked, texting back. Show them the spreadsheet I sent you. 10 minutes later, her reply. Just did. Your dad looked like he'd seen a ghost. The house I'd bought was more than a home. It was a fortress. A testament to my resilience. But the real victory was the mortgage transfer. Vanquish Properties now held the reins on my parents' house. And I'd drafted their first official notice. Rent due on the 1st. Late fees apply. The irony was almost poetic. That evening, Lauren called. The pre-foreclosure notice hit their mailbox today. Your mom looked like she might faint. You sure about this? I pulled up the latest bank notification. Another overdraft attempt from Ethan's now defunct gaming account. They haven't learned, I said. They're still trying to use my money. Submit the offer. Lauren hesitated. They'll figure out it's you eventually. That's the point, I replied, my voice steady. Let them feel what I felt. The for sale sign went up in front of my parents' house on a chilly October morning. Lauren handled the listing, ensuring every detail was flawless. 3 showings already scheduled, she said, adjusting the sign. Your parents are settling into their apartment. Ethan's actually paying rent now. I nodded, a strange mix of satisfaction and detachment settling over me. Later that day, I met Natalie at our old favorite coffee shop, the Beanery, where she fidgeted with her latte. I owe you an apology, she said, her eyes downcast. I knew what they were doing to you. And I didn't do enough. You tried, I said, remembering the texts I'd ignored months ago. I wasn't ready to listen. Still, she reached across the table. I should have been a better friend. Marcus joined us, sliding into the booth with a folder. Speaking of doing more, I've got something for you. He opened it, revealing business loan paperwork. Remember that art studio you used to talk about? The one you shelved to pay their rent? The bank approved your application. With your credit history and the LLC's assets. You're golden. Natalie's eyes widened. You're opening a studio? Maybe, I said, my fingers tracing the papers. I hadn't painted in years. Not since high school when I'd won that blue ribbon at the art show. 2 years of invoices and exhaustion had buried that part of me. But Marcus wasn't wrong. I'd never stopped sketching on napkins during lunch breaks. Dreaming in colors I couldn't afford to paint. That night, I unlocked the spare room in my house. The one I'd kept empty. Art supplies, still in their packaging, lined the walls. A blank canvas sat on an easel. Waiting. The doorbell rang, and I froze. Through the peephole, I saw Mom, looking smaller than I'd ever seen her. She held a framed picture, me at that high school art show. Clutching my ribbon, grinning like the world was mine. I found this, she said softly. Thought you might want it back. I took the frame, memories flooding back, days before invoices. Before manipulation. Before everything broke. We were wrong, she whispered, her voice breaking. So wrong. And I'm sorry. Sorry doesn't fix it, I said, my voice steady but not cruel. I know. She turned to leave, then paused. Ethan told me about his job. He's starting to understand what you went through. We're learning, Claire. Too late, but we're learning. After she left, I carried the frame to the spare room, setting it beside the canvas. Lauren called as I opened a pack of brushes. Offer on their house came in above asking. Accept it? Do it, I said. They need a fresh start. So do I. I dipped my brush in paint. The first stroke in years. Natalie texted a mock-up of a sign. Claire's Art Studio, where creativity meets freedom. Marcus followed with, studio loan papers ready when you are. And then, one last buzz. Ethan, got the job. I get it now. What we did to you. I'm sorry. I set my phone down, looking at my reflection in the window. No more overworked waitress. No more drained bank teller. Just me, a brush, and a future I'd fought for. The doorbell rang again, and there they were. Lauren, Marcus, Natalie, holding paint supplies and grinning. We brought housewarming gifts, Natalie said, for your studio. They followed me to the spare room, where the canvas waited. What'll you paint first? Lauren asked. I looked at the high school photo. At the girl who loved art before life got in the way. At the woman I'd become fighting my way back to her. Something new, I said, lifting my brush. Something free. My phone buzzed one last time. Dad. Apartment lease is in my name. No more hiding. No more excuses. I turned it off, facing the canvas. Sometimes, the best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about getting free, free to create, free to dream, free to be who you were always meant to be. The brush touched the canvas, and I began to paint my future. Stroke by stroke, in colors that were finally mine.